Many communities in South Africa have started rising up against looters and people destroying property. The communities say they've seen how badly the violence and looting is affecting their local economies and livelihoods. They've formed street committees to tackle any threats to their neighborhoods. CGTN's Yolisa Njamela has more details.
In many parts of Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal, the two provinces hit by the violence, community members are banding together as they seek to protect their lives, homes and businesses. Here in Soweto, residents are spending day and night guarding the Maponya Mall. It's the biggest mall in this township.
The mall will not fall. I'm saying the last hope of our malls will not fall. This is the biggest mall in Soweto with the biggest heritage in Soweto. So there's more than enough reason why we must actually protect this mall. It's the biggest employer in the spaces of the mall. If this mall goes down, it'll contribute to unemployment, which is already at a shocking rate.
This is the only mall that we are left with, and we still want our people to be employed, because one of our biggest problems is unemployment rate.
10 people died on Monday in a stampede during looting at a shopping center in the same township. Taxi associations have also joined communities around the Gauteng province to protect properties from looters. Communities are saying not in their name.
Big associations such as Santago standing up. That's a big thing. That's a big thing because that is the first step of unity.
The ongoing crisis here was sparked last week when the former president Jacob Zuma was taken to prison to serve a 15-month sentence. His supporters took to the streets to demand his immediate release, leaving a trail of destruction. 72 people have thus far died and over 1,000 arrested. Senior government officials have commended the actions taken by civil society.
You can destroy in 1 hour, in 1 day. But to rebuild takes long. To rebuild in this area in Soweto, all the malls that have been vandalized, it will take very long. So all of us as South Africans across the country, let's stand up, defend whatever infrastructure that is still remaining.
But also warned citizens not to take law into their own hands.
They've stepped up, and all what we're asking from them is that don't take the law into your hands, because that is another thing. But guarding is the right thing.
Heavily armed soldiers and a number of police have been deployed to deal with any potential threats. Yolisa Njamela for CGTN in Soweto, South Africa.
And for the latest from South Africa, let's bring in CGTN's Angela Coppola, who's live for us from Braamfontein and Johannesburg. Angela, what's the situation like right now?
Panina, well, it's calm in most parts of the two provinces, as has been discussed already. There were shots, as you know, fired in Vosloorus earlier today, and that's in the township to the southeast of Johannesburg. We have that one report at the moment. There are more reports coming in. Members on the streets happening in Soweto and Alex at the moment, and they're not doing any protecting, they're doing cleaning up. They're cleaning up the debris that was left by the looters over the last 5 days. In KwaZulu-Natal, we understand that looting has more or less also stopped, except for one area there. There are 2 suburbs that are still no-go zones, but it does appear that there's been a lull in the looting, which is good news. There's a strong police and army presence in those hotspots, and it appears that the presence of the soldiers has been the deciding factor in most instances. So for now, it's relatively quiet, but police and army are keeping a watchful eye on those hotspots, Panina.
And we also know, Angelo, that vigilante groups have been forming up to protect property and stop looters. Talk to us more about that.
Well, look, it is happening. It's been going on for the last 3 days or so. Members of the public in those areas have blockaded their communities, and they're not letting anyone in except for those emergency services. That's especially the case in parts of KwaZulu-Natal, in the Durban area specifically. The local authorities there have said that it's illegal, but it hasn't stopped the communities from continuing those blockades, because basically they don't believe that the police are doing their jobs properly, and so they've taken the law into their own hands, essentially. As I said, it's a lot calmer, though, than it's been over the last 6 days, but authorities are monitoring the situation, and those communities are still on high alert and not ready to open their communities to the general public just yet, Panina.
And what about the fears about food and fuel shortage? How are those being addressed?
Well, look, the key issue here is that the N3 and the N2 highways, those are the two main highways between KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng, are still closed. Bottom line is the area around the Mooikloof Plaza, where those 30-odd trucks were burnt last week, are only now being removed by the army. So the army's moved in with their big tow trucks to pull those burnt-out truck wrecks out of the way, off the highway, but it's a slow process, and once it's cleared, the army will then be able to begin their patrols, and those truck owners will then have to reevaluate the situation and start moving their vehicles if they believe it's safe to do so. There was some panic buying in stores in parts of Johannesburg yesterday, and there's also been a rush on petrol stations in the city, and this is as we started hearing about a fuel shortage following a force majeure that was declared by SAPREF, which is the country's biggest operating oil refinery. They've said they're not going to produce any more fuel or transport it because it's simply too dangerous for their workers to do so. So for now, everyone's waiting for those main highways to open up and to get cleared so that the army can actually go and do their job and allow those trucks to start moving and start delivering food and fuel to the rest of the country. Panina?
All right, Angela, we appreciate that update. Thank you very much. Angela Kupla joining us live from Brumfontein in Johannesburg, South Africa.